Welcome. Thanks for coming. Let's see who's here. Hey, Joe Turner. Paulina Carolina. How is everyone doing? Yes. Yes. You're here early. So, yeah, I always see people coming in. Let's put this up a bit. Yeah, we haven't started yet. We're going to start about 15 minutes right at the top of the hour. We have an intermediate level class for today. It is solidly in the intermediate level, I would say. It's not like transitioning to the intermediate level. It's completely in the intermediate level. The reason is it builds upon a beginner level concept, which is maybe high beginner, mid beginner, about how to make quotes, how to say something that someone said, like he or she or they said this. This is a form that builds upon that a little bit more, so it's an intermediate level. You want to make sure you're familiar somewhat with quoting. Quoting, I don't know why I said it like that. Quoting before you start the lesson today. Paulina says, good, I had my Korean lesson today. I still struggle with speaking though. Yeah, speaking is, it's something that just takes a lot of practice to get good at. And even when you can get good at it, even when you do speak well, you'll still feel like it's not enough. You're like, oh, I still wish I could speak just a little bit better. And yeah, that's where I always am, perpetually. But there will come a point where you'll realize, like, hey, I can say pretty much everything I want to say. And then there will be another point where like, hey, I can say most of what I say kind of like how I want to say it. You know, there are steps, but you'll get there. A closet tour? You don't want to see a closet tour. Closet tour. Let me check if there's anything worth showing off in here. It might be kind of hard to do a closet tour because there's a lot of stuff in there that you can't really move around because I use it as like, it's organized. It's not messy at all. It's organized really nice, but it's full. Hey, Lexica. Welcome. 안녕하세요, 선생님. Nice. Yeah, there's not too much to show off though in the closet. I mean, if you're talking about shirts, like clothes in this closet right here, well, yeah, that's not a big deal. I could pull them all right now and show you. But things in the closet, there's a lot. That's where I store all of the props that I use for filming. That's where KeyCat and all of KeyCat's clones are sleeping right now. I believe there are 5 of them in there. Yeah, I think 5 KeyCats in there right now. And it's where I have like equipment. So like filming equipment. So like I have my like tables in there and, you know, wiring in there. Everything's in there. Okay. Bonnie, I'm just looking for names that I recognize. Bonnie. Welcome, Bonnie. Glad to see you here again. Nice. Yeah, I can see a few people are here because they watched my recent BTS video on Suga. That's right. Some people are here because they saw that. Most people, though, are just here because they regularly come to the live streams. Anyone new? Is this anyone's first live stream? They've never come to a live stream before. Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I will say that now the video that I uploaded recently this week, it's not my most popular video ever. It doesn't have the most views out of any of my videos. That would be, I think, the Learn Hangul video, which has like 7 million or something views. But I will say it could become my most popular video. I don't know, but it's growing faster than any other video I've ever posted. And it got more views since it's been posted more quickly than any other video I posted in my entire 10 plus years of doing YouTube. So I was pretty surprised. The first day it had like 30,000 views or something for the first day, which just never happens. I've never had that happen before. I've never got that many views on one video in one day before. So yeah, Yeah, Avi, I've seen you before. Found me through the 8 things to know before learning Korean. Yeah, so I've got some more videos coming up as well. This week I spent every single day this week. I was going to say, oh, well, this day and this day, but yeah, it was every day this week filming some new episodes. So I have a few new videos about just general tips for learning Korean. They're very specific, but I have a few more coming out. And tomorrow I have another video coming out, which is my YouTube channel recommendations. So I last made a video, I think it was in like early 2020. Yeah, I think so, early 2020, about my favorite YouTube channels for learning Korean. And it was early in the year, it was like January or February that I uploaded that. And between then and now, like everything has changed. Many of the channels that I recommended there are gone. And as well as I made a video in 2017 that recommended my 5 top YouTube channels for learning Korean, obviously besides myself. But so that one though, many of those ones are also gone. A couple of them are still around, like Talk to Me in Korean, still here. But most of them are gone. It's just the way things happen. People make YouTube channels, they have life and they move on and they don't update it anymore, or whatever happens, and they close it or change it. And that stuff just happens and it's okay. But I wanted to keep up with that because my videos are now out of date for recommended channels. So I made a new video it's not just for smaller YouTubers. It's not just for smaller channels. It's not just for bigger channels. It's for all just my favorite YouTube channels for learning Korean besides myself. And you'll see that video tomorrow morning when it goes up. But I also have 5, 6, 7. Okay, I have a lot of other videos also that I'm working on that will all be uploaded between now and the summertime. So yeah, plenty of videos coming up, but that's what I've been doing this week is just filming. Paulina, you said, I watched it even though I don't like BTS. Yeah, that's totally okay. Because I didn't even know BTS before I did these videos, really. I knew their names, and I knew some of their songs. Well, I knew some of their names. And if you asked me, is this a BTS member name or not, I could probably tell you. But that's pretty much the extent of my BTS knowledge prior to making the videos. And then, yeah, I had to dive down the rabbit hole. And with some help from a couple friends I have as well, I was able to do about a month's worth of research and then filming to make the series. So that's what you're watching right now. Stefan, sorry if I'm not saying your name right. Do you have a dresser full of the same? Let's see, someone I see is just using caps in the chat. Please don't do that. Do you have a dresser full of the same shirts and hats? Or do you always wear the same? Yes, I have a closet. It's full of these shirts. They're not all the same though. They're a little bit different. So people who say I have the exact same shirt, it's not accurate. They're different. They just kind of look the same. Same with hats. I have many hats. They're all a little bit different, but they're all kind of bluish with the design on top. Ayer, you know the saying. Yeah, don't worry. That's in the video. But you'll have to wait a few more weeks for that because I'm only posting one every 2 weeks. That way, otherwise, if I posted them every single week, my channel would literally just become BTS Korean analysis for over 2 months. And although I would gain a lot of new subscribers, I think a lot of people would be like, come on, Billy, I want to learn Korean. I want grammar lessons. I want live streams, right? So I'm doing it every 2 weeks. That way the channel can still operate normally with some BTS in it. And after the series is finished, then I might make a poll on my Patreon page to ask what I should do next, because I haven't decided. I'm not sure what I should do next for grading. Do I want to do, after this series, after BTS is done, do I want to do more videos where I grade people's journals? Do I want to do videos where I grade people's Korean speaking? Because I haven't made those videos in a while. The last journal video was I think I uploaded it in December or January. And the last grading speaking video was way back last spring. Or do I want to do more K-pop analysis? Do I want to analyze non-native Korean speakers like I used to do? Or do I want to do more native speakers like what I'm doing right now with BTS for a different group? Or do I want to do just sequels to these BTS videos? And, I could do another sequel for each member. I don't know. I think after the series is finished, after I finished uploading all of the episodes, which will be... Actually, I don't even know when it's going to finish. But anyway, after I finish uploading it, I'll make a poll probably on my Patreon page for my supporters, and we'll see what do people want me to do, and then I'll decide at that point, and then film them, and maybe you'll see them at the end of the year. So we'll see about that. Please don't spam the chat. Crimson Heart says different group. Yeah, I could do a different group. That could work. I'm not sure. It's whatever people want. But yeah. Lexica says, we desperately need an entire video about Gene's dad jokes. I mean, you got it. That's what it was, pretty much. When I was researching for him, I have like a checklist of things I was looking for. So, and I mentioned them in the beginning, like about any quirks that they have when they speak, the way that they use politeness levels, unique phrases that they use, dialect that they use, their general personality that I can get from, at least as it appears on TV, that I can get from listening to them speak. For Gene, though, everything was just dad jokes when I was watching him. I'm like, if I don't make the entire video about his dad jokes, I would be doing him a disservice. So yeah, but I could easily do a second video about it. I had to cut out a lot because there was a point where I had found so many dad jokes that I was like, okay, I got to pick my favorites here, or this video is just going to be 50 minutes long and it's just going to have dad jokes in it. So, okay, I picked out my favorites and then I cut some of them short. Just so you got the point of what I was saying. But I could do a whole separate video just, okay, here's the next dad joke. Let me analyze it for you. This one he memorized, or this one he made up on the spot. I could tell you that stuff too, because it's really obvious which jokes he made up, which jokes he's carrying around with him that he heard from somewhere else, and which jokes he's just making up on the fly. And there are a lot of those. The really bad ones are usually the ones that he made up, but you'll hear him say those jokes multiple times. He really likes them. Like, they're bad, but he likes to do it again and again because it's funny for him every time. Even though they've already heard it before, it's just funnier the second, the third, the fourth time. Although personally, I like the jokes that he makes up on the spot. I think that they're a little more creative because they're less cringy. He doesn't have as much time to make them cringy. He has to be fast. And those ones resonate with me better. I like those. Like puns in English. Less dad joke, more pun. Maddie says, I'm assuming there's a Korean question. I'm getting all these questions about videos and stuff. Now I get a Korean question. I forgot. We're learning Korean today. I'm teaching Korean. Is there a difference to saying 타고요, 라고요? Yes. Teo and Leo. Yes, that's not for this lesson though. I did a separate lesson about that not too long ago, actually. I think a couple months ago. So you might want to check out. Well, actually, let me put that here. There is a Google document that I have, which has every single live stream. So check that out. I did a full lesson about those, but that's not the form we're learning today. It's kind of related to it, but it's not the same form. Angelica says twice. Yeah, I already did twice. Yeah, I did a full video. Actually, was it 3 videos? I did a lot. I did several videos about all the non-native Korean speaking twice members. That was a couple years ago. And yeah. And I talked about how well they speak Korean, what sort of mistakes they make, how they sound, and all that stuff. So check those out. SKZ. Oh, I was like, SK. Oh, yeah, Stray Kids. I was like, is this some new group? I've heard. No, I know them. Yeah, I did Stray Kids. Yeah, I did COD 7. Few other people. Can you grade someone without his or her request, Dimitri? There's a guy who posts Omegle videos. I don't know. I have no clue who that is. I know some people who post like YouTube videos, but I don't know who posts Omegle videos. Where he claims his Korean and Japanese and Chinese skills are A+. I can tell you right now, probably not. I am aware of many content creators who post videos who do videos in multiple languages. And there are some that are very honest, that talk about how they're learning, what they're working on. If you want someone who's really honest about their skills and who speaks legitimately not bad at all, Lindy Boats, she's pretty good. I know she's not watching this, but yeah, her Korean's legitimately decent, and she doesn't make outrageous claims about it either. She just... Is that my backdrop? Oh, I think it was just rolling a little bit farther back. But many of the people I see, and I won't call anyone out by name, actually, because I don't have their names memorized, but many other people I've seen will claim to know multiple languages. And then when they speak, I can tell if some of them, they aren't even beginner level yet, but they claim to be fluent. But like, I can totally tell you're just saying memorized phrases. You don't even know what the person's telling you when you say them. But the thing though is, native Korean speakers are so polite about people learning their language because they really want to encourage more people to learn their language. And they're legitimately impressed and shocked when someone else can speak their language, let alone, say anything, whether you speak it well or not. If you just say, like 안녕하세요, but you can't say it. So you say 안녕하세요 like that, they're going to legitimately be surprised. They're going to be like, wow, how did you learn Korean so well? And they're not making fun of you. They're legitimately shocked. So you might see people speak on YouTube that I can tell are still very, very low beginner or lower, but the comments will be very supportive. You'll see Koreans commenting, sounds wonderful. Really happy that you're learning Korean, so it can be hard for someone else on the outside to judge, well, is this person legit? Do they actually speak? But most of them, I'll let you know, no. It's an exception if they do. So yeah, some of them are an exception that I'll tell you, no, they're legit. They do speak well. But most of them just assume they don't speak very much. So beginner is where I would say most of the ones I've seen, most of the ones people have sent me have been beginner level. But again, it's not all of them, in case you're wondering. But I'm not going to go out and make a video exposing the fake Korean speakers on YouTube or TikTok or wherever, because that's not what I do. I try to teach Korean. I don't want a bunch of people hating me either. So that's all I'll say. Lexica says maybe 17. Okay, I haven't done a video on them. I haven't done a video on any of them yet. I learned Korean in 3 months. Well, you can learn Korean for 3 months. I learned Korean for 3 seconds. Yeah, you can learn Korean for any amount of time that you'd like. 3 months is impossible to become even conversational. Impossible. I am saying it right here. Impossible. Not, you have to be a genius, but straight up impossible. You could get to a level where you're saying some phrases and understanding parts of the gist of what someone else is saying. Like they might, blah, blah, blah. You hear a few words, you're like, oh, maybe they're talking about this. But the only way to have a conversation with that amount of time is if you do what is controlling, you basically, you have to control the conversation. And I could do that by learning any language in 24 hours. Just give me a cheat sheet of phrases in a language, and I'll say I learned that language in 24 hours, and I'll go on the streets and I'll say whatever phrase I learned. Hola, ¿cómo está? Mi amo es Billy. I don't speak any Spanish, so I'm just letting you know. But you don't let them talk anything other than reacting. And as soon as they after they say something, you have to bring in the next thing. You have to control the conversation, because if not, it falls apart. So that's what I could do with 24 hours for any language. You can pick it out of a hat. But that's kind of the trick that goes on with some of them. I'm not saying all of them. I'll say some of them. Yeah, just some things to look out for. And the reason I don't like it is because I think it's discouraging to actual students. It's fun to watch for entertainment value, like, wow, look at all that the person learned in that short of time. But it's discouraging to people who are actually trying to study, because they'll see that and they'll feel like, how come it's taking me so long when really the person's lying? So that's why I don't like that. I think if someone makes that video and they're open about it, that's okay. Like, hey, I learned this much. I can speak this. I can't speak this, but here's where I am. Let me show you what I can do. Great. That's fun. But yeah. Okay. Hey, Dimitri. Sorry, I missed your notification. Actually, the program I use for the lights broke. It doesn't work anymore. And so maybe hopefully it'll work again. But thank you so much, Dimitri. Dimitri is our first supporter. First supporter for today. It has taken me a long time, but learning Korean has been worth it. Took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly what I would say. It's taken me a long time. Oh, that's sour. Ah. Nico says it's kind of like that with Japanese. It's the same with every language. Korean is not exclusive, but because I happen to speak Korean, I can easily tell when someone is reciting something they memorized and when someone actually is saying something that they're pulling out of their head. Because you can hear their intonation when someone's repeating something. They're like, how do you say this? Oh, you say it like this, and they repeat it. You can totally tell when they have it pre-memorized or when they're copying what the person says. So yeah, I'm not gonna call anyone out specifically, but I did watch a video, I won't say when, of someone making that kind of claim and claiming to learn Korean in a very short amount of time. And it was so obvious to me. I wouldn't comment on it, but yeah, it's very obvious. I also learned German, but to compare it to Korean. Oh, I should start the lesson, but this is kind of fun. But compared to Korean, it's a baby language for me. Oh, well, sure. A different type of language. So, English, German, all of that, all of the Romance languages, you get all the connection between them. But with Korean, it's just way over there. You don't get to relate it with so much stuff. Basically, repeating learned Korean phrases is equivalent. Well, if they could speak as well as ChatGPT, that would be quite remarkable. But no, it's not even on that level. Yeah, Japanese. I'm sure there are plenty of people who claim to speak fluent Japanese and don't. I claim to speak on a really good day. I would be intermediate learner level. Yeah, I'll say that confidently. Understanding though, I'm not bad. I can understand quite a lot. That's because I did intensive studying way back a long time ago. But most of the words, like the vocabulary I learned, I forgot, so I can't produce it. If someone uses it to me, maybe I'll get it. But yeah, I'm not a Japanese teacher, so I don't really have to worry about that though. Okay. We're doing a lesson today. Welcome. Everyone's like, Billy's talking about random like content creators making fake videos claiming to speak Korean. When are we getting onto the lesson? Maybe I could do that. I could do like, I don't know how I can make a video about it. Like, because I don't want to just make a video where I expose fake Korean speakers, but like, how could I make something like that where it's still positive and promoting learning Korean? I'll have to think about it, because that's my goal. I don't want to just have a channel about learning Korean. I want to actually teach Korean. Okay. The form we're going to be learning today is actually a quoting form. Yeah. In fact, all the forms we're learning today are actually quoting forms. Oh, what's a quoting form? A quoting form is just a grammar form that means someone quotes something, meaning someone says, or maybe someone asks, or someone inquires, or someone yells. Any sort of communication, anything that you would put quotes around when you're expressing it is a quoting form. This form is also a quoting form. The way you make it is you take a verb stem and you conjugate it into the plain form. And then you attach nian and ta to the end. Now, plain form will always end with ta. So, except for the verb ida, as we'll see in a moment. So if you take hada, normally the plain form of hada is handa. So now you have handanda, handanda. For the verb 먹다, to eat. 먹는다, 먹는단다. And you're done. Now, if you don't know how to make the plain form already, that's what I've written here. You take a verb stem and you attach a nian if it ends in a vowel, or nun if it ends in a consonant. If it ends in a lir, this letter, you first remove it, and then you'll attach a nian, followed by ta. So, I'm going to leave this up for a second, and then I'm going to tell you what it is. Check the chat for a second. Yeah, I was just gossiping the whole time. Hold on. Ryan TV says, hey, Go Billy, hope you're doing well. Been watching your channel and studying for 7 months. Finally you moved to Korea. That's awesome. How is it? Yeah, Bianca says, 한단다, 먹는단다 sounds silly. It does sound silly if you don't know what it means. It's like, why are you repeating the sounds? But no, it's normal. Okay. So, this form is actually short for the quoting form 타고 한다. 타고 한다. So if you take 하다, before I said you would get 한단다. Originally it would have been 한다고 한다. 한다고 한다. 한단다. 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 That's where you get it. It's just short for 타고 한다. So, what that means actually is you might see other versions of this that will have the same meaning. For example, what about instead of finishing the 타고 한다 form with a different grammar ending, like we could get 합니다. Well, what would happen to this? If I said 타고 한다 was short for, if I said 한단다 is short for 한다고 한다, then what would this make? 한다고 합니다. What would you get? Now, I know I haven't told you what the form is used for, but basically, if you know it's a quoting form, it's okay. It really is simple. I'm letting you know. It's simple. And I found some lessons online that are overcomplicating this form. 판카, that's a different form. That's 한다고 해. And I have a separate video live stream all about that. But that's a shortened quoting form. Same origin. Yeah. Jess got it. Ria got it. Yes. Bianca, 한답니다. Yes. So if you change the ending, you can get a different ending here. So instead of 단다, you might see 답니다. So 하다 would become 한다, normally 한단다, or 한답니다. Now, why would you use 한단다 or 한답니다? It only depends on the politeness level that you're using. Do you want to speak plain form, 한단다, or do you want to speak formally, 한답니다? And it's the same for any verb. So 먹다, to eat, 먹는단다, or 먹는답니다. Same thing. I'm going to leave this up for a second. There's one more thing that we can also do to this form that can give us a different result here. Can you guess what it might be? I'm just letting it sit here so you can kind of absorb it for a second before I just throw everything out. I don't want to overwhelm you. Just if you can't follow along up to this point, let me know. Maybe I can try to re-clarify something. Again, I haven't shown you exactly what it means yet, so don't worry about that. But it is just a quoting form. Someone said it doesn't sound less formal. Oh yeah, it is less formal. It's plain form. So I'll say that again. 타고 한다. So 한단다 is, actually let me state it like this. Something that you should also know is that when you're using 단다, this is the plain form since it comes from 타고 한다. And if you use 답니다, well, this is now formal speech. It's the 니다 form since it comes from 타고 합니다. So would you use 단다 to a stranger? Probably not, because you wouldn't use plain form to a stranger. You could use it though to your close friends in casual speech. And then 답니다, you could use it to someone who's a little bit older than you, someone who you're not very close with, because it's formal speech. Okay. All right. So there's one more thing that we can also do to this form. I said verb stem, but you can use a verb in any tense. So you can use a verb stem that's from a past tense verb, a past tense verb stem, or a future tense verb stem. What might that look like? Well, the normal verb stem of the verb 하다 is just 하. But past tense, what's the past tense of 하다? Does anyone know the past tense verb stem of 하다? I know that sounds a little complicated, but don't overthink it. Past tense of 하다, get the stem of that. What do you have? Just the stem, not the whole thing, just the stem. Can you guess what that might look like if you take the past tense? Yeah, that's it. That's it. So you don't have to do this right away. You don't have to be a master of doing it with all tenses right away. I'm just introducing that it's possible. So yeah, 하다, well, the past tense stem would be het. So now you can get het. And it wouldn't be nian and nun, because now we're talking about past tense. This nun is for the present tense, because really you're just making the plain form, right? So now you have, instead of 한다고, you have 했다고 한다, 했단다, or 했다고 합니다, 했답니다. That's all there is to conjugating this form. So, in summary, you get the plain form. That can be in any tense. You can say 한다, present, 했다, 하겠다, future, like that. Then you attach the ending nian followed by 다. So 한단다, 했단다, 하겠단다, or you can use the 니다 form, 답니다, like that. So it's pretty versatile in how you can use it. And again, it is just a shortened version of the quoting form. So now let's talk a little bit more about the quoting form. 저는 한국에 가요. I go to Korea. 저는 한국에 간다고 말했어요. So 말했어요. I said 한국에 간다고. I said I am going to Korea. So that's a quoting form. Instead of just saying 한국에 가요, I'm going to Korea, 한국에 간다고 했어요. So I said I'm going to Korea. 한국에 간다고 해요. I say, or maybe he says, or she says, or they say that they're going to Korea. Hey, what did 철수 tell you? What is he saying? I can't hear him. 철수는 한국에 간다고 해요. Okay, right? 철수 says he's going to Korea. 철수는 한국에 간다고 한다. 철수 says, now plain form, that he's going to Korea. 철수는 한국에 간다고 합니다. 철수 says he's going to Korea. So you can see this is the normal form, regular quoting. And this is kind of a prerequisite for today's lesson. I hope that you're not learning quoting for your first time from this lesson. This is like a one more step. But anyway, hopefully this still makes sense. So now we've got, instead of 한국에 간다고 한다, 한국에 간단다, 한국에 간답니다, like that. And if you're wondering what happened to the 간다고 해요, well, I did a whole separate live stream about that, 돼요, which you can find on the Google document, which is on my community tab on my channel. So if you want to learn about that. The reason is that has a few extra forms that we're not talking about today. Okay, so that's really all that this form is at its heart. So then what does this form mean? Well, literally, it just means someone says verb. So if it's present tense, someone says they are doing, someone says they are doing verb if it's present tense. Someone says they did verb if it's past tense. Someone says they will do or they would do verb if it's future tense, like that. And you can even use the progressive tense. Someone says that they are currently doing something. All right. Does that make sense so far? And really, if that's all that you know about this form, that's enough. But we're not done. Jess, you want to use 한국에. 에서 would be from. Diane Fox asked a question, but I think you might want to review basic quoting forms first, because the second 하다 is not to do. The second 하다 is actually just 말하다, but you don't need to say 말. It's just shortened to 하다. So like 간다고 했어요. The 했어요 is 말했어요. Said, to say, 말하다. Blue candies, can you, oh, it's sour. Yeah, can you give me an example and I can explain it? But no, Koreans do not quote things that are not a quote. They are quoting quotes. Quotes are what they are quoting. I don't know how to do any more alliteration besides that. Yeah, they are actually quoting a quote when they say that. Hey, Alita Baker. Billy, your written Hangul gives you me over. Alita, I'll let you in on a secret. It's my English too. look at my English writing. You'll see it's the same. But I am pretty proud of my Korean writing because I follow stroke order really nicely and I can write very fast. I would say my speed is not too much behind a regular Korean for writing speed. Now, appearance is, my writing's not as pretty, but that's kind of the same in English. I just don't have nice writing. Mimi, again, this is not a review of basic quoting forms, but 말 is simply removed most of the time when speaking because it's understood. If you say 말했어요 or 했어요, it's the same. 간단다, 갔단다, 갈 건단다? Nope, you would use a different form for that. The reason is the verb for 갈 것 is 이다. So we're going to talk about that in a second. Guys don't have nice writing in general? I wouldn't say so. I mean, do girls typically have nicer writing? Yeah, but I wouldn't say that means guys don't have nice writing. I've seen a lot of guys that have nice writing too. But usually, I think girls tend to try to write nicer. I'm not really sure if that's accurate, but that's my guess. I do my 이응 the opposite way. you just have to practice that a lot, because I had some strange stuff. I wouldn't do stuff with the wrong stroke order, but I would do stuff where it was just really lazy writing and I had to go back and fix some of that. And the only way to fix it is just practice writing more. So my writing right now is like the best it's ever been. If I show you my older writing, it's more blocky and it's like more wiggly. Okay. Does stroke order really matter? 100%. Yes, it matters. Because if you write something, unless you're trying to write something really blocky, then no one's going to know. But if you're writing something with any form of cursive or any sort of fast writing, it'll be immediately apparent that it looks messy if it doesn't have the right stroke order. Someone asked, what am I drinking? It's like lemonade with some caffeine. The reason I picked it is because it has less caffeine than the other drinks I have in my closet, but it's really sour. Okay, so we're not done. The next thing you need to know is, when does this get used? Well, I said that it's simply a short version of 타고 한다 or 타고 합니다. So you can use it like that. But it also tends to get used often when you're conveying information from an older speaker to a younger listener. Kind of like an older speaker is teaching that younger listener. So let me give you an example. You might hear at the end of a story, like a fairy tale or at the end of a folk tale, that the story will end with this sort of ending. 단다, 답니다, like that. Now, you also might hear it if someone's giving advice to someone that's younger than them. Like, hey, you should know this. This is what they say, like that. And what I'm telling you is just how it tends to get used, how it's often used, but not how it's always used and not how it has to be used, because we know it simply comes from this form being shortened. So why is that? And what is this form again? This form is a quoting form again. So when you're using a verb with this form, what you're saying is 타고 합니다 or 타고 한다. So 타고 말합니다, 타고 말한다. So someone, we don't know who, somebody says whatever verb. So when we had our example, 철수는 한국에 간다고 해요. 한국에 간다고 한다. In that sentence, we know 철수 is saying that he's going to Korea. But if we don't have the speaker in the sentence, 한국에 간단다, 한국에 간답니다, someone says they're going to Korea. We don't know who is saying it. So because of that, this form can translate in many ways, but when it's used without a speaker, so when it's used without saying who said the quote, it tends to get used a lot in those sort of folk tales or fairy tales, or when an older person is giving advice to a younger listener, because it has the feeling of saying like, it is said that, or they say, that sort of feeling. But otherwise, this form just translates like that. It translates like, it is said that, or someone says, or I'm telling you that, like what I am saying is that, or they say, you don't know who, but maybe just they all say it. They all say it. They say that, or, like you should know because everyone says, this sort of meaning. So it's just a quote. And whether you have a subject that's saying that quote or not, you can still use it. But when you don't know the person who's saying the quote, it tends to kind of sound like maybe an older person is giving advice to a younger person. So that's the context that's the way that you'll often hear this form, is like an older person telling advice to a younger person, but know that that has nothing to do with the actual meaning or even the nuance of this form. It's just how it tends to get used. Like, I want to say a fact, like, hey, they say that if you only drink soda, your stomach will hurt. Like, who says that? But it doesn't matter. You just want to say it. You want to give advice. And you might say something like this if you're older and you're talking to someone younger. Hey, you know, they say if you only drink soda, you're going to get a stomach ache, like that. So it tends to get used in that way, but the actual form has nothing to do with that. You can just say, they say if you only, or someone says, or I am saying if you only drink soda, your stomach's going to hurt. So just know that. It tends to get used in that way, but it doesn't have to be. And I did find some lessons on the internet when I was researching for this form for the lesson that said it's always used in that way. And just know that it's not. It's simply a shortened version of this quoting form, and you can use it just like that. Okay, we're not done though. We're not done. Does this make sense so far? If you've already learned quoting forms and now you're learning this, does this kind of make sense? Because there's one more thing we have to cover. Lexica says, oh yeah, stroke order makes a big difference in being able to read other people's handwriting too. Yes. Although they were just asking about writing for themselves, but yeah, it's true. If you're not familiar with stroke order, you're not going to have a good time trying to read other people's writing because other people will follow the stroke order, but they'll be like really messy. But if you can read the stroke order, if you know what it's supposed to be, you can follow their handwriting strokes and you can figure out what the letter is supposed to be, even when you otherwise wouldn't be able to read it. 호랑아 제발 집에서 아이들이 날 기다린단다. Okay? Yeah, you'll hear it at the end of stories. 날씨가 추우면 따뜻하게 입는다. So remember, it's plain for 입는다, not 입다, but 입는다. So 입는다. Okay. Yeah, so the prerequisites for this form are quoting forms, and prerequisites for quoting forms are plain form. So you want to kind of be familiar with those. If you don't know those and you're coming in this lesson and you feel confused, just know that's the reason why. I guarantee you that's going to be the reason why. But once you're familiar with plain form, like how to conjugate it, which is this, how to use it, then you'll do quoting forms, which are quite easy to add on that, and then you're doing this. So, okay. Maz asks, does 답니다 instead of, yes, 답니다 would be formal. 단다 is plain form. Okay. One more thing. So there's one more verb that we didn't talk about. And that is ida. Okay. If you have a noun plus ida and you want to use this form, how would you do it? So we want to say, they say, or someone says that something is something. Yeah, they say that it's, let's see. See if I can find an example that's with a noun. Oh yeah. For example, they say that this is the most popular song recently. You know, they all say this is the most popular song these days. So we're going to need to say, they say that it is a song, or they say it is a popular song. So how would we combine ida with 다고 한다? This is the same for when you make a quote with ida. Can you guess? Yeah, Paulina, you got it. And yes, Hannah JT, this is where it changes to 라고. Yes. Normally, when you're making a quote and you have ida, you would get not 다고, because 다고 comes from the plain form of other verbs. You would get 이라고, right? 이라고 한다. So then that leaves us with a different ending. Well, if we have 이라고 한다, we get 일한다. And what if we have 일하고 합니다? Well, we get 일합니다. Again, this is the exact same thing we were just doing with 단다 and 합니다, but now we're using the verb ida. Also, I should note this happens with 아니다 too. 아니다 would also be 아니 란다, 아니 랍니다. But yeah. That's just because 아니다 is actually an, negative, 이다. So it has all the same conjugation for that. So 일한다 or 일합니다. And that's whenever you're using it with the verb 이다, and you'll be using the verb 이다 anytime it's after a verb. Sorry, anytime it's after, and you'll be using 이다 anytime it's after a noun, since 이다 means to be, like that noun is something. So noun, 이다, and you get 일한다 or 일합니다, like that. And that's all there is to it. The most common place you're going to see this, though, is actually when you're doing the future tense. Because what's the normal future tense? I think that was my stomach just rumbling. Okay. Normally when you're doing the future tense, you'll get the verb stem and you'll attach 것, 이다, 것이다. Now this can also be shortened to 거다, and you'll see other forms like that. But just keeping it simple. 것이다. Well, if you want to say, they say, or someone says that someone will do something. Again, this is not complicated, but it sounds like that in English. Let's say 갈 거예요. So I'm going to go. 저는 갈 거예요. 한국에 갈 거예요. Well, this 예요 is the 이다 form. So that's all we have to do. 갈 거란다. 철수는 갈 거란다. So 철수 says 갈 거라고 한다. Plain form, that he's going. The end. Or 갈 거랍니다, if you want to use the 니다 form and be more formal. So this is where you're going to see it used a lot, is in the future tense, since the future tense uses ida every time. Circuit, yes, there could be. You could do 갈 거란다는, but that would be a combination of another form. You wouldn't do that. I can't think of why you would do that. Let's see. You would just use 나는. You wouldn't need to do 난다는 like that. 간다는 would be a separate form. Or 일하는 would be a separate form. So you might be confusing the regular form, which sounds like that, and another form which would be made by doubling this up with another one. You wouldn't use that. But the first one's fine. Like 다는, 했다는, something 일하는. In fact, I've done a whole live stream about that form. But you'd have to check the Google document for the exact day that I did it. I don't remember the date it was, but I have one. Bianca, the first one wouldn't be correct because 가다 becomes plain form as 간다, not 가는다. But the rest of them are fine. The other two are good. 갈 거라던데 is a different form. That would be 갈 거라고 하던데. This one, if you're using it in this form, would be 갈 거란다. 공부할 거란다. So you're missing the 하다 for QOBIFY. Okay. If you're not getting this form, though, I would say go back and review quoting forms, because what we're doing here isn't a special combination. This is not a brand new form. Actually, if I'm being honest, it's not a new form. It's simply a shortened version of other forms you already know. Well, you should know for this lesson. So it's quoting form. Again, 갈 거라고 한다 is what you're saying. Someone says they will go. 갈 거란다. 갈 거라고 합니다. 갈 거라고 말합니다. If we extend it even more. 갈 거란다. Okay. So, let me do some example sentences, because all of that was just explanation about where it came from and, literally what it means and what it's a shortened version of and how it could be used. But let me show you an example. do it like this. 오래오래 행복하게 살았습니다. This is a normal sentence, not using our form. 오래오래 is for a really long time. Ever after, we would say. 행복하다, to be happy. 행복하게, happily. 살다, to live. 살았습니다. So they lived happily ever after. Well, this is not how you would end a story, though, usually. Because when you simply say they lived happily ever after, you're saying it was so. That's what happened. The end. But when a person is telling a story in Korean, what they're doing is not conveying this person did this and this person did this, but instead you're going to hear in Korean lots of quotes. And then this person said this. And then they all lived happily ever after, I heard. So you would get 살았다고 합니다. They wouldn't say it like this, though. They say that they lived happily ever after, or I heard, or it is known, you know? They say they lived happily ever after. 오래오래 행복하게 살았답니다. And it is said that they lived happily ever after. So you have that kind of feeling of an older speaker teaching a younger listener. And it's used at the end of stories very often. Now, it could also be 살았단다. 살았단다. If you were just speaking in plain form, but often stories are narrated a little bit more formally, you'll find. So yeah. And they lived happily ever after. Or literally, it is said that, or they say that they lived, you know, they as in not the people who lived happily, but other people. As I've been told, I heard, they lived happily ever after. Because I wasn't there. I'm not saying they did. That's what I assume. Okay. This is the first sentence, but I have a few more sentences. Okay. So here, this sentence ends with 난다, so plain form. So we can tell, just because the plain form is not used normally, unless you're speaking down to someone or you're speaking casually to your friend, we can tell this is going to be someone older speaking to someone younger, providing them with advice. 탄산 음료 is soft drinks, so carbonated beverages, or soda, as we would say. 탄산 음료만 마시면, so if you only drink soda, 배가 아프다, your stomach hurts. So 배가 아플 거예요. So your stomach will hurt. 거란다, 거라고 한다. They say, or you know, I heard, word on the street is, if you only drink soda, your stomach will hurt. So they say if you just drink soda, your stomach's gonna hurt. So hey, you shouldn't just drink soda, you know. 탄산 음료만 마시면 배가 아플 거란다. They say if you just drink soda, your stomach's going to hurt. So maybe like a grandfather would say this to a kid who's like chugging like a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper or something, like a 3-year-old kid. You know, this is something the grandfather could say. And the 3-year-old kid doesn't understand. So he's like, he keeps chugging. But he could say it. Grandfather could definitely say this. Okay. I'm going to leave this up for just a second. But I want you to know that this form is not only used in stories, it's not only used when you're giving advice, but it tends to get used that way, but it's not only because it's simply a shortened version of the quoting form and nothing else. There's nothing special about this form. Maybe I could use that for the thumbnail. I think that's a good thumbnail shot, if I remember where that is in the video. Okay, I'm just going to read the chat for a second. Blue Candy says that was word. Yeah, if you're confused, I'll just let you know. Don't worry, you're okay. It's probably just that you haven't yet learned quoting forms. And if you're still confused and you do know quoting forms, you might not know how to conjugate quoting forms, which is specifically how to conjugate the plain form. So I might do a review of first plain form, and then quoting forms, and then this form after that. And then after this, you might want to go on to like hande, handeu, hareu, the even shorter quoting forms, which are used casually and informally in regular conversation, which is related to this, but that's a bigger topic, and there are more versions of that. Taegi Lee says, are there some words in Korean that you even find difficult to say or to remember? Yeah, I can't remember though. I would tell you, but I forgot. Thumbnail is just over an hour in. Okay, I'll try to remember that. Bianca says, would you use this form with people you're speaking? Again, Bianca, that has 100% to do with politeness levels. It's plain form and formal speech. So I might recommend reviewing plain form and reviewing formal speech to know when you would use one or the other. But this isn't the lesson for that. That would be a big topic. Okay. Now let's do some examples. I think the rest of these are all, the rest of these are all regular usages. Like those two were examples where it sounds like an older person speaking, kind of telling a story or giving advice. These other ones are just regular usage. Actually, I want you to finish this sentence. 공사 is construction. So this construction, I want you to finish it by saying, I heard, or they say, or you know, or they say that, or it is said, anything like that. This construction will finish next year. I want you to finish this sentence, starting with 이 공사는 will finish this year. I heard it will finish this year. Will finish. Dimitri, I know what you're saying. I know why you're asking that question. Yes, you can use this in that way. Like someone said, why didn't Charsu come to the party? And you're like, 바쁘단다. Like I heard, 엄청 바쁘단다. Or 엄청 바쁘다고 한다. Although you don't have to use this form. You could just say, 엄청 바쁘다고 했어. Well, 엄청 바쁘대, if you know the 하고, 한다고 해요 form. Yeah, he said. And it's implying, like, I don't believe it, but that's what he said. Instead of 바쁜 거 같아요. Yeah, it's like, that's expressing my own thought. I think that he's really busy. You're not saying that, you're saying he says that he's really busy. And you can, if you word it correctly, if you give it some nuance in the right context, then it can imply, like, I mean, allegedly he said he's busy. 갈 수 없단다. No, I heard he can't go. Or he says that he can't go. So it can imply that, but it doesn't have that meaning in it regularly. So you'd have to use it in context with the right voice tone. Yes, Sophia. Yes. Paulina. So 끝내다 is actively finishing something. So when you're saying this construction will finish, you're not saying I will finish the construction. Unless you're a worker, then you could say 내년이 끝날 거란다. Yeah, that's fine. If you're actually the worker, I will finish it actively. But what you're saying is it itself will finish. So this is what's known as transitive and intransitive verbs. You don't need to know that. You just need to know, does it use an object or does it use a subject? So if you're actually actively doing something to an object, you would use 끝내다, which is known as a transitive verb. And if it doesn't have an object, then it's intransitive. It would be 끝나다. So yes, you'd want to use 끝나다. 이 공사는 올해, Maz is the construction worker, I'm sure. Like, no, it's not finishing next year. It's finishing this year. 올해 끝날 거란다. I don't care what the other construction guy told you. It's finishing this year. I like that. Maz is like really productive and gonna get it done ahead of schedule. 내년이 완료할 거란다. Okay, it's completed. I will complete it. Again, you want to use 완료되다, to be completed. So 완료하다 is like I am completing something, active voice, versus 되다 is passive, to be completed. And then Molly as well. Molly, your sentence is perfect, except you want to use 끝나다 for it will be finished. It will be completed. It will finish like that. Versus 끝내다 is like I am finishing it. So someone is they are actively finishing it, or they will finish it. Versus it will finish. Did I say this year? Then maybe I'm the ambitious construction worker. I'm sorry if I said this year when I meant to say next year. Okay, well, whatever. Your workers are working overtime. If you heard the first one, you get to work slower. If you heard the second time I said it, then you have to work double time. That's just how it works in the construction world, I think. 내년에 끝날 거래요. Yeah. Maz, 라고 해요. It's the same sort of construction. The only reason I'm not covering it in this lesson is because that form has 4 other versions. So, with the command form, suggestion form, like that, question form. So I didn't want to go into that. That's a whole other topic. And then they also have its usage for like introducing yourself, or sorry, not introducing yourself, like introducing a topic. And I have a whole live stream about that. So I didn't want to even open that can of worms for today. But it's the same form, just with plain form or formal. And you wouldn't use the other form. So someone asked a good question. So I'm just kind of talking with that person right now about their question. And you wouldn't use the other form for telling a story because it doesn't have that sort of formal feel to it. Like you're giving advice, like sharing a story, like with casual speech, the plain form in casual speech, or with the nida form in formal speech. It doesn't have that tone. So that form would never be used for giving advice down to someone like that because it doesn't have the feeling of that. But it is the same thing. Hopefully that helps clarify a little bit. Yeah, I'm trying to kind of adapt to it because I know some people in here don't quite know the prerequisites and other people are definitely ahead of the prerequisites. So I kind of want to teach to both. Okay. Yes, nice, Bonnie. Nice. Okay. 이 공사는 So I'm going to give myself some extra time. So I'm going to finish it next year. 내년 is next year. we're going to mark it A because it's the time. So literally on next year or at next year or in next year maybe. 이 공사는, so this construction, this project, 내년에, next year, 끝나다, to finish, to complete. 끝날 거예요, or normally, I almost switched to Korean there for a second. That's weird. I normally don't do that. I almost started switching to Korean because I was going to say, 원래는 끝날 거예요, 잖아요. 근데 여기서는 란다를 써야 되니까 끝날 거란다라고 말을 하는 거예요. What if I just did that? What if we just taught a whole class, like a beginner live stream on a beginner topic, and I just did the whole thing in Korean, and everyone would just be like, what's Billy doing? I don't understand. What's going on? I don't know. I don't do that though, because in the event that I can make a mistake, because I'm not a native. So if I say something slightly, a little bit odd, I don't want to worry about someone writing that down and copying it perfectly. That's the main reason why I don't teach in Korean. I'd rather a native Korean teaches in Korean if they want to. I think I do my best in English for teaching. Yes. But yeah, so I was thinking the first thought that came to my head though was the Korean word 원래, like normally or otherwise. So anyway, 이 공사는 내년에 끝날 거란다. So, 거라고 한다. They say, we don't know who, someone says, or I heard. So because they say, I heard that this construction is going to finish next year. Actually, just add that. Okay. I wasn't planning on actually having you do any of these, but it's kind of fun. So why don't we have you complete this one too? Okay. 엄마 눈에는, so literally in my mom's eyes. But that's like as far as my mom's concerned, as much as she knows. I am the prettiest. So mom says that I'm the prettiest in her eyes. How would you say that sentence? 엄마 눈에는. So I started it. You would start by saying literally in my mom's eyes. Now we want to finish it by saying, I heard, or she said, I am the prettiest. And really, you're the only daughter and there are no other kids. You're a single child. You're an only child, I guess they would say that. Maybe you're a single child too, I don't know. But you're an only child. But still, in my mom's eyes, my mom said I'm the prettiest. Play a Korean lesson in Korean, yeah. I do English lessons in Korean all the time. Even recently, like as recent as last week. So I have no problem with it. But I've never tried a Korean lesson taught in Korean before. I mean, English, I know a lot of the terms that I use, but a lot of the terms I use in English, well, some of the terms I use in English, you don't use them in Korean because things like articles, they don't use articles. Okay, let's see how you're doing. 눈에는 내가 제일 예쁘단다. Nice, Bianca. Perfect. Let's see what else. Oh, Paulina. 제가 가장 예쁘단다. Okay, oh no. So, if you're using 제가, maybe you can answer this question yourself. Can you use 제가 with plain form? Is it possible to say 제가 한다? Is that possible to say? I mean, possible, sure, you can, but is that correct to say? Would you use 저 or 제가, anything like that, with the plain form? If not, try to rewrite it, Paulina. I don't want to tell you it's wrong, but just note that. But the rest of your sentence is perfect. Let's see what the other sentences we have are. Nice. 제일 예쁘단다. Yes, Hannah, JT, Colleen, cool, Eric Johnson. Nice. Oh, Maz as well. 가장 예쁜 사람이. I see Maz is trying to be a bit creative. You couldn't say 저란다 though, because 저 is humble. When you're saying 저, it's like you're lowering yourself a bit. That's why it's used in polite speech. But if you end it with the plain form, 한다, in this case, 란다, that would only be for casual speech. That could not, so 저 would be showing respect, but the plain form negates that. So they don't match. So you could say 나란다. 이 나라의 왕이 바로 나란 말이다. That's what the king would say, I guess. I am the leader of this country. I am the king of this country. Yes, you would use 내가. So na does not have any sort of polite feel to it. So that's why it gets used in casual speech. It also gets used in writing when there's no audience, essays, any of that stuff is na. And 저 is only for when you're trying to be extra polite. Now, the extra polite, you're going to be extra polite to pretty much everyone that you're meeting for the first time. You're going to be extra polite to people who are older than you. But, and there's a little more to it than that. But you would never use it with the plain form, since plain form is definitely not a polite form. And QOBIFY as well. So not 제가, but 내가, since we're using the 단다 ending. If you wanted to use 제가 or 저는 or 저란다 or whatever, you'd have to use the 니다 ending. So you can say 제가 예쁘답니다. Then that's okay. 니다. since you're using that with the nida. And in that case, you wouldn't use nega most of the time. It could be, most of the time it'll be awkward to use nega or na는 with the nida ending. And there are exceptions to that, and I cover those in a separate course if you're interested, called Master Politeness Levels. But most of the time it's awkward. So you wouldn't ever say 나는 something something 입니다. It's awkward. It sounds like someone's made an example sentence just to teach someone Korean, but they haven't thought about what it means. So yeah, you don't want to mismatch stuff with politeness levels. Okay, so let me give you the answer, and actually most of you already got it. Now you can use 제일 or 가장, same thing. Okay, well not the exact same thing, but as far as meaning the adverb of most, they are the same. Okay, 엄마 눈에는, so in my mom's eyes, I am 제일, the most, 예쁘다, I'm the prettiest, 예쁘단다. So my mom says that in her eyes, I am the prettiest. So my mom says that I'm her prettiest daughter. 엄마 눈에는 내가 제일 예쁘단다. So my mom says that I'm the prettiest to her, in her eyes, in her thought, in her opinions, however you want to express that. I'm actually impressed because some of these sentences they're definitely intermediate, but you've been able to do them. Okay. I want you to do this one. This is a little bit more difficult. It's short sentence, but it's a little harder. I heard they were late. They were, past tense. I heard they were late because there was an accident. 사고 나다 is to have an accident. There was an accident, literally. So because there was an accident, I heard they were late. You only need one verb. You only need one word to finish this sentence. But it's the tense that could be a little bit tricky unless you're familiar with this conjugation now. So I heard they were late because there was an accident. Now, I'm only going to give you 2 minutes for this. It's already 3 o'clock, so I should have already finished the lesson, but you know, we go over time a lot here. Oh, isn't it the Oscars tonight? What time do the Oscars start? 5 o'clock? Oh, okay. 5 o'clock. We have plenty of time before we get to watch whoever wins. I actually haven't seen most of the movies. I'm always been really bad at that. I'll watch like, I don't know, maybe like five to 10 movies a year. I want to watch more, but it's been hard to watch. It's been really hard to go out to watch movies ever since 7 years ago. And if you want to know why that specific number, I'll let you know my kid is 7 years old. So it's been really hard to go out to watch movies. So I haven't kept up with most of them. But I do know, like, you know, the major tentpole movies and stuff. So maybe, I don't know, maybe Avatar 2 will get something, or Puss in Boots 2 or something. I don't know. But I'll probably watch them. I'll watch parts of it. Okay. I just don't want to see, I don't want to see any violence this time. I'll just say that. Okay, Hannah JT, I believe, is the first one to give an attempt. Why can't I speak? Attempt? 사고가 나서 늦었단다. Very nice. I like it. You did the past tense. You got it. 늦었단다. You can do 늦었단다. You can also do Mini Mess has it as well. 늦었답니다. Very nice. That's actually what I was looking for, was 늦었답니다. But 늦었단다 is perfect. And I didn't give you any clue as to which one I wanted. 늦었단다. 사고가 나서 늦었단다. Nice. Okay, I'm going to skip through a little bit. 사고가 나서 지각했단다. Okay. 지각했다 is good too. I totally was not expecting that. That's like, was tardy. Like, would that be just late, I guess? I guess that would be tardy. One of those words I actually don't know the English translation for it. I guess it's, yeah, tardy. Okay, I was like, first word that I thought was tardy. So yeah, that could be it. Okay, let's see what else everyone has really quick. Rebecca, you do not need pronouns in Korean. So 그들, nope. 그, nope. 그녀, nope. Throw them all away. The only time you'll ever see them is in literal translations of things that are going into English. So if you ask a Korean for an example of a sentence using something, they might throw it in because they know you're not a Korean speaker and it makes it easier to understand the context. They're not used in Korean though, otherwise. In fact, they are, as I've heard, they're actually pulled in from Japanese. Like they're kind of ways to use, because they also did the same thing with like translating other languages, but you don't use them. How do we use subjects here? Can you give me an example of what you mean? Colin Cool says, came late, but there's a difference between tagohada and tanda. That was you did come late. That was part of the first 20 minutes of the lesson was all about that. This form comes from tagohanda. If you already know tagohada and you know plain form handa, then you're good. And 답니다 is tago합니다. And 일한다 is 일하고 한다. And 일합니다 is 일하고 합니다. Okay. 사고가 나서. So because there was a 사고, an accident, 늦다. To be late, 늦었다. Was late, 늦었답니다. So I heard they were late because there was an accident. Okay. This is going to be hard. This is going to be hard. You might want to sit this one out if you're not solidly in the high beginner level or more, because this is a little harder. This is longer. They say, or maybe I heard, could be, there's no subject, we don't know who's saying. They say, or I heard, this is recently the most popular song. So this is recently the most popular song. So I heard this is the most popular song recently. And I'm giving you the beginning, 이게. So the beginning of the sentence is 이게, so 이것이, this. 요즘 is recently or these days. So we're going to need is the most popular song. Again, if this feels like, I don't know how I'd make it, don't worry. Let the intermediates try it. But I feel like I like giving you sentences, even if they're a little bit hard like this. I just didn't want to give you the whole thing without any help, because that would be a bit too much. Okay, Bianca, very nice with 유명하다 would be generally famous. But here we're not saying it's the most famous song lately. We're saying it's the most popular song. Unless, I didn't say famous, did I? Sometimes I'll say something and I'll think I said something else. The most popular. So we want the word popular, not famous. But I like that you still worked it together. And that's what I was looking for. But yeah, 유명하다 is not the word you want to use. 인기 있는, yes, Mimi. You're missing the, Mimi, you're just missing the most popular song. But your sentence is great. That would have been the first perfect answer. Like 100% perfect. And then chresthetic, you typically would use the modifier, so an adverb, before 인기 있다. So whenever you're using an adjective, this is more intermediate topic, but whenever you have an adjective that has 있다 or 없다 within it, you would add an adverb before that whole segment. So not in between, not like 인기가 가장 있는, but if you're just using 있다 by itself, so it'd be 인기 있는, or 가장 인기 있는, or 제일 인기 있는, or 더 인기 있는, like that. You add an adverb before the whole part. Not that it doesn't make sense if you do it the other way, but that's how it typically gets done, because it's treated as one unit. However, if you're using a different verb, not 있다, like 많다 or something like that, then you can combine, you can use it before like normal. Paulina, 이게 요즘 가장 인기가 많이 있는? You would only need to say 가장 인기가 있는. You're good with that. And then 노래도 안다. Yes, nice. Oh no, Bonnie wrote something, but deleted it. A few other people wrote it. I can't read it. Okay. 제일 인기 있는 노래랍니다. 나이스, 해나. 나이스. 가장 인기가 많은. Yeah, you can also use 인기 많은. 인기 있는 is typical, is the standard way to say popular. 인기 많은 is like very popular. 가장 인기 있는 노래란다. Yes, 노래란드. Songland, almost kind of like. 노래란다. Nice, nice. Yeah, you got it. Wow. Okay, I'm really impressed. I didn't think most people would get this because it's longer and you needed to know several words. But if you copied parts from other people, but you still put the sentence together yourself, give yourself a pat on the back. You did great. Most people got it or really close to it, like good enough. 요즘, let's see, what do I have? 제일 인기 있는 노래? So normally you would finish the sentence with 노래예요, right? Like it is the most popular song lately. But we're not saying it is, we're saying I heard or they say. So 라고 합니다. 납니다. You could just say 인기 있는 노래라고 합니다. They say, but it typically gets shortened. You don't need to say something really long. Like why use many word when few word do trick? You can just shorten it. If you want to specify not that they say, but you want to say I heard, you could make the whole quoting form with heard. 라고 듣다 is to listen, like to hear. So 라고 들었습니다. So I heard it's the most popular song lately. That's okay if you want to be more specific, but you don't have to be. Just they say, they say it is. Someone says. 이게 요즘 제일 인기 있는 노래랍니다. So this is, I hear, lately the most popular song. So I heard this is the most popular song recently. 이게 요즘 제일 인기 있는 노래랍니다. Okay. I have one more sentence, and I also want you to finish it, but I'm going to give you the beginning. 오늘 점심 중에, so among or in today's lunch, I heard the strawberries. No, I heard only the strawberries were tasty. I heard that, or they say that, only the strawberries were, past, were tasty. Or delicious, however you want to express it. So I heard that only the strawberries were tasty. I heard that only the strawberries were good in today's lunch. This is the final sentence. It's the final sentence. If you can get this one, you've got the form. At least you know how to make it. Or at least you can understand it when someone else uses it. Okay, let's see. Looks like Jiki rushed really fast. Typo Jiki. Yeah, I see it. You got it. That was so close. You were so close to being the very first to get it. I have to pull that point away though for the typo. Let's see. Paulina. 오늘 점심 중에 딸기만 맛있었답니다. Yes. Paulina, since you're the first green member that popped up, I checked yours first and you got it. Okay, let's see everyone else's now. 딸기만 맛있답니다. You could say are. I heard that they are. In this case, I wanted were, but your sentence is perfect. It's just present tense. And totally fine to say. I heard that strawberries are the only thing that's good in today's lunch. Sure, you could say that before eating or while you're eating. After you've eaten, though, you would have to say they were. 중에 딸기만 맛있었답니다. Yes. Nice, Bonnie. I unlocked eternal flame. Nice. Yes. Yes. Okay. 오늘 점심 중에 딸기만 맛있었단다. Adri, nice. Bianca. 딸기밖에 맛없단다. That's not how you would use it for you to say 맛이 없다 would be a separate verb. It's not 없다, it's 맛이 없다 is the verb. So literally doesn't have any flavor. 그거밖에 맛이 없었단다. You probably could say something like that, but 맛 없단다 is, again, it would be present tense. 딸기 점심 중에. No, the other reason is the 밖에 is not the exact same thing as just saying 만이다. You can't simply say 밖 아니다, like switch the negative and say they don't have the same meaning. 밖에 is often used for something that's insufficient. So you might say 야채밖에 안 먹었어요. Like all I could eat was vegetables and I wish I had more. It has a different feeling about it. Whereas you're saying only the strawberries were good. You're not saying everything else was gross necessarily. You're promoting the good. Versus 밖에 is like everything was gross, well, except the strawberry. It has a different feel to it. And I do have a live stream about that, but I don't know when it was. It must have been a long time ago, a few years ago. Yeah, purple people. Hopefully a purple people eater doesn't come in here. Yeah, 보라색 사람. 보라색 사람을 먹는 괴물? I guess. I don't know what the name of the song would be. It was one of those novelty songs back like decades ago. I don't know if anyone even knows that song. There was a terrible song. It's still terrible, called The Purple People Eater. One big whore and a one big eye. It's something like that. Purple People Eater. It's a really dumb song. I used to listen to it sometimes as a kid. Okay, let's say everything else was gross. You can, like I just said, it's a different nuance. 그거밖에 맛이 없었어. Yeah, everything was bad except that. I guess you could say it. It's just not what we're expressing here, but as far as can you make that sentence, yeah. Still popular during Halloween? Oh, okay. That makes sense then why it's still popular. Same with things like the Monster Mash. The Monster Mash. It was a graveyard smash. That's like the only song that they could play literally at the kids' Halloween parties. They're like, oh, what songs can we play? Like literally everything is inappropriate for kids. Play the Monster Mash again. Like you get the Monster Mash, and what else would you get for Halloween? Maybe you can get like the song from Hocus Pocus, but not the movie. That's like not good for little kids. Yeah, I don't know. You're really limited in songs you can play for Halloween besides Monster Mash. Maybe the Munsters theme, Addams Family theme song. What other like child appropriate Halloween songs are there besides the Monster Mash? That might be the only song you can play. And then Purple People Eater, sure. That maybe that's why it gets played. Thriller? Could be a little scary, though, for kids. I'm trying to go through the lyrics really quick. Could be a little scary for kids, I think. Also, the dance could be quite scary. Like that. And whereas Monster Mash is literally just like, there's no dance. Okay. Anything Tim Burton? Well, that wouldn't be songs, though. That would just be music. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Okay. 오늘 점심 중에 I forgive you for misspelling. 딸기. Okay. Yeah, actually, let's just do 단다. So it matches what I already wrote. Okay. 오늘 점심 중에. So in today's lunch, literally among today's lunch items, 딸기만, only strawberries, 맛있다, to be delicious, to taste good, to be good. 맛있었다, were good. So only the 딸기s, only the strawberries tasted good. They say 맛있었단다. 오늘 점심 중에 딸기만 맛있었단다. 오늘 점심 중에 딸기만 맛있었단다. So, I heard that only the strawberries were good in today's lunch. Okay. And that's the form And that's everything you need to know. Any questions? Yo, you could also get the Ghostbusters theme song. I just remembered. That one's pretty okay, like as far as a song goes. Ghostbusters. Da-da-da-da-da. That one's okay. You could also get that at like a kid's Halloween party. But you're pretty limited in what you can play. It's really just going to be a loop with Monster Mash over and over. Is there a live stream next Sunday? No, I don't think so. Should I? There isn't. There is no live stream next Sunday. But should I do one anyway? I mean, I could. I could do whatever I want. I could just say live streams every week. Every day. Live streams twice a day. Yeah, we could. Obviously. And fewer people would come every time. Get like, until it's down to like 10 people. 3 of them would be like yelling at me, asking when I'm uploading the next BTS video. 3 of them would be practicing Korean. 3 of them would be spamming the chat. I don't know. We get, what's like the 10 types of people we can get? Only 6 months on Korean lessons with you and Duolingo, and I could follow. I'm so happy. Nice. A live stream going through nursery rhymes. Yeah, some Korean nursery rhymes I'd say are pretty, like, everyone knows them. And I've sung some before, like, and they've been pretty useful, but majority of them you're not going to need, I would say. Some of them are fun though. There's one about appearing on television that I like. I'd sometimes sing. 텔레비전에 내가 나왔으면 정말 좋겠네. Anyway, there's like a song. A bunch of like cute little kid songs that you could probably learn. 반짝반짝 작은 별. Yeah. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. That's right. 반짝반짝 작은 별. 아름답게 비치네. I think is how it goes. 저쪽 하늘에서도 something. Yeah, I don't remember all the lyrics. I'd have to have a refresher on it, but I'd recognize it. 따르릉 따르릉 비켜가세요. Anyway, there's like a bike song. 조심하세요. I think that song has 납니다 on it. Hold on. 비켜나세요. Let me find it. Yeah. Wait. Hold on. Never mind. I was thinking it had the 납니다, but it's 납니다. Because I never learned the lyrics. I just learned it by hearing it. 따르릉 따르릉 비켜나세요. 자전거가 나갑니다. 따르르릉 저기 가는 저 사람 조심하세요. 오물오물 하다가는 큰일 납니다. That's right. Yeah, not the same form. I was hoping that I had suddenly remembered a song that has this form in it, but no. Do you listen to music in Korean? No. Not often. Sometimes I do, but not on a regular basis. Usually when I have free time to listen to anything, is not usually during the daytime, but like say at nighttime, I can listen to music. What I like to listen to most of the time is movie soundtrack. But if I'm not listening to movie soundtracks, then I will listen to sometimes Korean hip hop, sometimes popular Korean songs, just if people keep talking about it, I want to know what they're talking about. And, but only some, not really very much. If I listen to Korean songs, it depends. Do I understand everything that they're saying the first time? If I don't have subtitles and I'm just listening, sometimes I actually don't know if they're singing in English or Korean, because if when they start singing in English, depending on the group, sometimes their pronunciation is so bad that my brain freaks out and I'm thinking, wait, I don't understand this. And then I later realize, oh, it's English. And that can mess me up a bit because I never know when they're switching away from English to Korean. One of the most famous examples of that was, I think, Twice had the song Cheer Up, right? But they sang it as charup, charap. And I never knew that they were saying charap for like a year when that song came out. And people would be like, charap. And I'm like, what are they saying? And then I finally looked it up and it's supposed to be cheer up. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I thought they were saying some Korean word I couldn't find. And I just never cared enough to search it. And then when I finally looked it up, I'm like, oh, okay. So sometimes that happens. If they're not singing in English, they'll usually still throw English words here and there. If their English is good, though, it doesn't mess me up. It's okay. Like if they'll mix in English, that's okay. Then if the song is not pronounced really weird, if they're giving it decent pronunciation, then yeah, for the most part, I can follow along. But I just don't tend to listen to too much Korean music just because not anyone in particular, I just don't listen to that genre very much. I like soundtracks. I like music without lyrics most of the time because I don't have much time to sit around and listen to music. I'm usually doing editing, or if I'm not editing, I'm writing or filming or working on a book, or, if I'm doing those things, I can't listen to music with lyrics. It distracts me. So I have to listen to something without lyrics. That's why I don't end up listening to too much. Not Korean music, but just any music with lyrics. So I don't know what's popular in English in America. I didn't hear Despacito until it had been out already for like 2 years or whatever. And it got like 1 billion views. And then I heard it after that. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I don't know. I can't keep up too much with popular music. Now I know Despacito, of course. All right. Any questions? Paulina says, I love movie soundtracks. What's your favorite? Yeah, I'm not playing that game. I can't pick a favorite. But I do have a large collection of movie music. I may or may not have a family member who is a member of the Academy and would get me all the movie soundtracks. I didn't say that, but I'll say I have a large collection of movie soundtracks, and I really like movie music. Paulina says, sometimes I don't understand lyrics in my native language. Yeah. Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes I'll hear a song and I'm like, oh, that song is catchy, but I can't understand what they're saying. And then later I find out they're not speaking English. That's happened before too. Not Despacito. I knew that was Spanish, but there was another song that was famous. Oh, I think the Numa Numa. I thought Numa, whatever that song originally was in English, and I just couldn't understand it as a kid. And then later realized it's in some other foreign language. I still don't remember what language it is. Was it German or something? Anyway. Romanian. Okay, thank you. I was like, I knew it was European, some one of those European companies. That song. Yeah, I thought it was like English or maybe Spanish, but I didn't have a clue. Okay, Daisy Park asks, my Korean vocabulary is bad. Any good sources? By bad, do you mean you don't know very much? I'm guessing you mean you don't know very much vocabulary. The problem is if you learn a bunch of vocabulary before you can use it, then you kind of forget it. And I had that problem when I was a beginner. I was trying to learn tons and tons of vocabulary. In fact, one of my first videos on my channel was how to learn 50 vocabulary a day. And that was just the method I was using to study vocabulary. It wasn't some magic trick that I created. It was just what I was doing. That's the method I figured out and I thought I'd share and people like it. But the problem with that is once you stop making those quizzes for a while, you forget all those words unless you're using them. So I stopped doing that because I realized, yeah, I was learning these words, but I had no way of using them. So I decided, let me stop trying to focus on so much vocabulary. Let me get the grammar down first, and then later I can come back to that. And now what I do is I'll review about 60, 70 words a day. I review, but of those only like 5 are new. 5 to 10 are actually new words. So that's much better for me because I only have to review a few new words and practice those ones. And then as a benefit, I can use them with the grammar I know. So I wouldn't focus on grammar so much. I actually have a video coming out about how to learn vocabulary. And I don't know when it's coming out, a few months from now, I guess. I just finished filming it actually a couple weeks ago. But I would just say don't focus too much on vocabulary. You need vocabulary more when you've reached an intermediate level, but at the beginner level, it's not harmful, but I'd say it's a waste of your time if you can't use the words. So focus on whatever you can use. Now, if you're okay using it, you have some grammar, you just want to get better, more sources of vocabulary, then you can get a vocabulary book, but don't learn every word in it. Just learn some of the words. Pick out the most important words, learn those first, and then put the book away. Don't look at it. Like if the chapter is on colors, don't learn how to say like 연두색. Don't learn like light green. Don't learn like random words. Just learn the most important ones like 초록, green, 초록색. You're done. Blue, yellow, black, white, all of those. Throw the book away. You don't need to learn gold and silver and all that stuff, rainbow. But just get the most important ones so you can use it. And then later you can go back and add more. But I wouldn't stress too much about vocabulary. What about learning vocabulary as a high beginner? Like I said, it just depends on can you use it. So are you learning vocabulary that's appropriate for your level? And when I was a beginner, I wasn't. I was learning vocabulary just everything. And that's fine because I was living in Korea, so I could use a lot. But I was still learning more than I could use. And eventually, I stopped doing that and that helped. I decided to focus more on grammar and practicing speaking and listening and everything. But yeah, in the beginning, I ended up learning so many words. Like I remember checking, actually, I looked at it again last month. Like I had 통나무, which is like a tree trunk. Like, why? Like, why would I learn how to say, or 양계장, like a poultry farm? Like, I mean, this is a word I can know now, but I had it in my book before and recently transferred it to my Anki deck just because I want to use all those words as well. But like, I didn't need that as a beginner. So yeah. All right, any other questions? We'll just go for just another couple minutes and then we'll turn off for today. Bianca says, I review about 130 every day, about 3 being, that's great. You might be thinking that you have to be learning a ton of new words, and certainly you can if you have a reason for that, but you don't need to. You just need to learn a few words every day. If you get in 3 new words a day, but you do it every day, that's like 1,000 words a year. 1,000 words is extremely powerful. Although if you're a beginner, you're probably getting more than that anyway. Just from your lessons, you're going to be learning more than those 3. I do 5. I do 5 words a day. Right now, anyway. But if I'm trying to cram for a specific reason, like I have a new book, then I might open that up to be 25 or something just because I want to learn all of the words in that book that I'm doing. But right now I don't. I'm just doing my regular Korean listening. There's a business Korean book that I'm going through, but there aren't even that many new words I'm getting from there. So yeah, just 5 new words a day. 5 to 10 is great. That's more than enough. Bonnie says, are you phasing out? Yeah, I don't know why I say a few things like weird like that, but a bunch of people pointed it out to me. So I'm like, okay, sure. I'll say beginner now. I mean, I used to say milk and I fixed that. Now I say milk. I can say milk in my sleep now, so it's no problem. Just takes practice. I'll get it. Beginner. How to get new grammar concepts to stick. Like today's? Today's would be a little bit difficult to get it to stick if you don't already know quoting forms, if you're not already able to make quotes. But normally with a grammar form, if you want it to be able to stick, you say it out loud a bunch of times and you practice by making your own sentences. But really the way to get it to stick easy and fast and permanently is to use it yourself in a real conversation. And there's something different that goes on when you're actually using a word and you're actually having a conversation with someone and you find that vocabulary word and that grammar that you wanted to use and you put it together and make a sentence and your friend understands it and they reply, there's something different that goes on when you're using it that your brain says, keep this, and it holds it much better than when you're at your desk with a book and you're just reading sentences. So I try to do that when there's a new word I'm trying to learn. Use it and you've got it. Like, it doesn't matter how obscure it is or how weird it is. Once you've used it once, like really used it in a phrase, you've got it. So I try to say that if possible, try to incorporate one grammar form into your regular Korean conversation. Again, not making like a journal entry for yourself, not reading it out loud for yourself. Those are good. But what really tends to make it stick, at least for me, is if I can actually use it. So it also works in chat. You know, I'm having a real conversation. I get to use that form and I get to hear the effect of it right away. Then my brain, I feel like, grabs onto it and says, okay, I believe you, we need this. Versus when you're studying it and your brain's like, meh, I don't know about that. You know, you have to keep doing it multiple times. But then when you use it, same with vocabulary, when you've used it, your brain likes to keep it better. And if you still don't have it, use it a second time and then you'll get it. So that's what happens to a lot of stuff. Don't use a word, but then once you pull it out and use it once, then it becomes super easy when I'm doing vocabulary review. Once it comes up, I'm like, oh yeah, I've used that. Oh yeah, it's super easy. Throw that word away. Yeah, that's why one of the things I like to emphasize so much in my teaching is using what you're actually learning. And that's not just a catchy phrase, but it's because that's the way you're going to be able to use it faster. You're going to be able to understand it right away. You're going to be able to read it without having to look at the syllables. You'll just know the word. And the only way you can do that is by using it. Like, your brain just can't learn something by rote memorization. It doesn't happen. You also don't learn something just by listening to it a bunch of times. That's not how people's brains work. You watch Korean dramas all day. You might hear a few phrases. You'll recognize a few phrases. You might pick up a couple words, but that's it. You're not going to learn anything if you lock yourself in a room and watch Korean dramas for 100 years. And it doesn't happen if you do that to a kid. In fact, there was a crazy linguist guy that did that to their kid to try to make them speak language. It doesn't work. They speak gibberish. These are like old language theories that were debunked in the 60s and 70s. You need to have you need to actually be using what you're trying to learn for a language. You can't learn just by listening. You can't learn just by reading. You can't learn just by studying. You can't learn just by writing. I can tell you all these things. You can't learn just by speaking to yourself. Language is what we know it is. It's communication with other people. That's what language is. That's what it's used for. And if you're not learning, that's the best way to learn it. And you need to study so you have stuff you can use, but you're not actually going to internalize it until you use it as a language. So hopefully that helps. Watching dramas for 100 years sounds like, well, yeah, lock yourself in a closet, prepare lots of food, like you saw The Aviator, do that, but play Korean films on there. Do it for, it doesn't have to be 100 years. Do it for 10 years. Make the volume nice and loud so you can hear it. Turn on Korean subtitles and just watch Korean dramas for 10 years straight. Come back, report back to me. How did it go? I'll tell you how it'll go. Not that great. I'll save you the effort. It's not going to work. You're going to learn some random phrases. You'll learn some random words that you hear used all the time, but you're not going to be able to speak Korean at all. It's just not how it works. I wish it worked that way. If it did work that way, there would be so many more people who are fluent, who are fans of Korean drama, Korean music. There would be so many fluent BTS speakers because of how much content there is for BTS. But it's just not what happens. You have to actually use it. You have to study it. You have to practice it. You have to read it. You have to write it. You have to do all these things together to get it to stick. So yeah, that's what I like promoting. It's the boring traditional way of learning a language, and it works. That's how you learn languages. It's the way that you normally always learn them. You study, you practice, you use it, you hear it. All of that stuff is part of the process. Okay. The problem is there are 0 Korean people where I live. I can only speak with my teacher once a week. Yeah. Online friends. Online friends. In fact, I have met the majority of my real life friends online. make online friends. And then they would introduce me to sometimes their friends. Or I would go to a group and there would be multiple friends there. Maybe I don't even hang out with the original one anymore and I get a new friend. Online friends. You can chat with them, and then when you go to Korea, you can meet them. You can find someone that you can do calls with. Plenty of people want to do phone calls and practice their English. Like, hey, can I call you and practice my English? Can I practice some Korean too? Sure. You know, they speak to you in English for 30 minutes. You're like, oh, okay. And then you do your best to say whatever you can, which is very basic. It might just be, 안녕하세요. 잘 지내세요? You know, hello, how are you? You don't know what to say. It doesn't matter. Just practice it. Once you get that out of your mouth, 안녕하세요. You've said it. Okay, now at least you know that word. You know, that's done now. 잘 지내세요? You know, how are you doing? Now you got that. Or are you doing well? And then you can worry about the next thing and the next thing. And then the more practice you do and the more reading and writing and all that stuff you do, the better you get. But yeah, online in the past, you wouldn't be able to do this. Before there were chat rooms, you would just have to find a pen pal. You would just have to like write letters. And then before that, you would just have to call someone and pay like $10 a minute to call someone in Korea. Or before that, you would just have to meet someone and you really just wouldn't learn Korean. So Korean is much easier to learn nowadays than it used to be, just because there are so many ways to do it. And these days, the internet lets us do all of that. Okay. I said, I will try, but I'm bad at making friends. That's okay. So are Korean people. So is everyone. The people who are really good at making friends, they're not looking for you, to be honest. They're not out there trying to find friends. They already have friends. They're really popular people. The people you're going to make friends with are just like you. They're like, hey, maybe they're awkward. You know, they don't have friends, or they have friends and they want more friends. Or maybe they have lots of friends, but they don't have any foreigner friends. So they want to make friends from America or Europe or whatever. That's the people that you're meeting, and that's fine. You're meeting other people like you who also just want a friend. And maybe they can't make friends easily in their country, or maybe they're too busy, or maybe they have friends and they want a different kind. Okay. What are the Korean government moving their age system? Yeah, nothing's going to change. In fact, I talk about that in the video. Whose video do I talk about? One of the BTS members, I talk about that in the video. I think it's... Oh, was it Jungkook's video? I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, nothing's changing except the legal international age will be the new official age. So whenever you say your age, you should say your international age now. Older people aren't going to care about a new law that comes out. If you ask them how old they are, the older person's still going to say their Korean age because they don't care. Why would they like, oh, I've been saying this is my age forever, like whatever. Younger people might be more open to the change and they might start saying their age as the international age. But you for still a while, you'll have to still clarify whether you mean 한국 나이, Korean age, or 미국 나이, they call it American age, or you can say 만 나이, your international age. Koreans will still clarify that for a while, but it's not going to change anything about how you speak to someone else, because people don't speak to each other based on their, based on their specific age. They speak to each other differently based on the year that they're born. And the year that you're born doesn't change. So the way you speak with someone before this law goes into effect is the exact same way, 100%, as the way you'll speak with them after this law happens. Even if it's someone who's definitely like 100% going to follow this new law and is excited for it. Zero change in how you speak. There could be some small cultural changes as far as like what words you use. I'm not going to go into those today, but as far as how you speak to someone, it's the same. You still have to use the same politeness levels because they're older than you, even though their Korean age can be the same as yours. They were still born before the year before you. So yeah, it's not going to change anything. Yeah, 년생 is how people introduce themselves by their birth date. Sorry, their birth year anyway. They've been doing that now for a while. So when you ask someone how old they are, you're going to hear people just say, 저는 88이에요. 88년생 or 86년생, 94년생, whatever. I was born in this, and then they'll say the 2 years that they were born. So that nothing changes really. So you don't have to worry about it. The only thing that changes is when you say your Korean age, you can just say it as your regular age. But again, people don't do that usually. This is like a basic way to introduce yourself. It's easier to understand, but mostly people just introduce themselves nowadays by saying their birth year. Okay. Thank you everyone for coming. Hopefully this lesson wasn't too advanced. Again, you can vote on the next topics if you are in my Discord and there's a new topic you would like to cover. Come in, leave a suggestion for me, and I might add it to the next vote so you can get your topic in a live stream. Thanks for coming, and I will see you again next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐.